worried about how healthcare reform will impact your life? Of course you are, and that's completely understandable. Far more important, and within your control, is your personal health. Are you worried about that? Maybe not. You're young and healthy. What's to worry about? Plenty. What if I were to tell you that you're consuming something each and every day that has the potential of killing you? Would that worry you? It should. This insidious ingredient that could slowly rob you of your health is showing up all around you. It can affect your health, it could affect your future, or could even affect your life. It is invisible, virtually tasteless, again, used everywhere, and you probably love it. As a nation, we consume it by the truckloads. The food industry considers it almost magical. It can make food creamy. It can make food crispy. It can make food crunchy. What is this amazing addition to our table? Trans fat, that partially hydrogenated hardened oil that is showing up in all your favorite foods and clogging your arteries. Your body was simply not made to handle fake fat, and you're now paying a steep price. As an exercise science major, I am shocked by the perilous situation we now face. What can you do to preserve your health? I suggest there are 3 things you must do. Become aware of what trans fat is, discover where it is hiding, and start avoiding it. First of all, trans fat is the worst fat available and is clearly detrimental to your health, both immediate and long-term. Despite recent efforts to notify the public and deter consumption of trans fat, Americans continue to consume it at record rates. Although trans fat does occur naturally in some meat and dairy products, the real worry in the American diet is the artificial trans fat. This artificial fat became popular in the 1950s as a substitute for saturated fat and butter. It seemed like a great idea. It's inexpensive, enhances the flavor and texture of food, and produces a much longer shelf life. This man-made fat perfectly serves the public's needs, or so we thought. During the 1990s, research revealed the adverse effects of trans fat. Studies by the American Heart Association show that, like saturated fat, trans fat raises LDL cholesterol, also known as bad cholesterol, which in effect increases the risk for heart disease. But unlike saturated fat, trans fat takes it a step further and also lowers HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol, doing even more damage to your body. Excuse me. Trans fats tease your taste buds, then travel through your digestive system to your arteries, where they then turn to sludge and sit there, clogging them, resulting in stroke or coronary heart disease. But the negative consequences of trans fat consumption doesn't stop there. Both obesity and type 2 diabetes have been linked to consuming too much trans fat, as well as liver dysfunction, infertility in women, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. Why, how could anyone continue to eat trans fat? This question leads me to my next point. Oftentimes, we do not even realize the amount of trans fat we are actually consuming. According to the American Heart Association, we should all limit our trans fat intake to less than 1% of our daily total calories. If you eat 2,000 calories a day, that works to about 20 calories or 2 grams for trans fat. This quantity also includes your natural occurring trans fat that you can find in whole foods such as dairy and meat. And so the only way to stay within that 2 grams a day limit is to eat virtually fast food, snack foods, and baked goods that have absolutely no trans fat. Bottom line, keep trans fat consumption as low as possible. Become a careful label reader. But to make things a little more confusing, double check that product whose label proudly claims of having 0 trans fat. What do you find? Most likely some trans fat. According to the new FDA guidelines, a product can have up to nearly half a gram of trans fat per serving and still carry the 0 trans fat label. That's deceiving. So review the ingredients list. If you see the words partially hydrogenated, then that product contains trans fat. You cannot afford to let this terrible fat sneak into your diet. Sure, trans fat can extend the shelf life of food, but I think we can all agree that human life is far more important than shelf life. With all the changes in healthcare in the future, you can no longer assume that there will be a program to rescue you from your bad decisions. By the time trans fats have done their dirty deeds to your arteries, Uncle Sam may no longer be in the position to pick up the tab. Staying healthy is a much better decision than relying on the medical system to patch you up. Staying away from trans fat today will give you a much healthier tomorrow.